Hey everybody, so I'm talking about the movie Us, Jordan Peele's movie. Um, it's a very interesting film, definitely. If you don't want any spoilers, there's a lot of spoilers in my analysis right now. Yeah, so I think that it's important to recognize just the worldview in the beginning. I'll give like a little plot summary afterwards. But the worldview of this movie is nihilism. But I think the core theme that Jordan Peele is trying to make through his movie is the emptiness and the meaninglessness of the American dream. So the film deals with this family, the Wilsons, and they're on a vacation at their lake house, and they're actually being followed by doppelgangers, these clones that are actually trying to kill them. And so most of the film is wrestling why the clones are trying to kill them, who are they, and how they got there in the first place. So the movie presents a lot of American stereotypes of what is considered successful or what is considered a great life. And it actually shows that under this like false guise of the American dream, that these images and that these stereotypes are actually hollow and shallow and meaningless. And so in a way, it's not even the clones or the monsters or the tethered or what they call in the movie that are considered the villains, even though they're the ones killing everybody. It's actually the American dream. Towards the middle of the film, when the tethered actually break into the lake house and they have kidnapped the family, they've tied them up, they've stopped them, and they're pretty much explaining their motivations for what they're doing. And the dad asks, "Hey, like, who are you people?" And they answer, "We're Americans." And the tether's lack of expression shows like the hollowness of what Americans actually are. So from this point on, we actually see a lot of different allusions and ties into this idea of the failure of the American dream. From the first like opening seconds of the film, it actually shows a factoid that there are hundreds and hundreds of empty and abandoned tunnels underneath the United States that actually serve no purpose. It's kind of a metaphor for like America's only the surface level, but what's actually the roots, what's the foundation, what's underneath are just a bunch of empty tunnels that serve no purpose. It shows like again the meaningless of America and the meaningless of American dream. So the primary example of American consumerism as seen with the Wilsons is Gabe with his obsession with buying a boat. He does buy a boat, but it doesn't work very well, and it's a lot worse than the Tyler's boat, which is Gabe's kind of little rival, his neighbor. And so Tyler always has nicer stuff, and they're always comparing stuff in the beginning of the film. And when the tethered actually kill the Tylers and the Wilsons go over to investigate, they actually see that as an opportunity to take their stuff. And so Gabe is excited about taking their boat, using their backup generator, using the food, using the water, using the security system that the house has. And again, this is shown, it's showing that he only cares about the material stuff, and he sees that as his savior. He sees better and more expensive stuff as the things that are going to keep him away from the tethered. This mentality shows that like the American dream pushes that like you never have enough. And it's like the American dream isn't a destination, but more or less it's a journey of understanding that like you're always going to be dissatisfied in the stuff that you have, and you're always going to be envious of the things that you don't. So we find out in the end that the tethered, the doppelgangers are actually created by the government to try to like mind control and like body manipulate like actual people that the copies are of. The program got shut down. The tethered are just down there. They're just copies. They don't know English. They can't speak. They can't do anything. And all they do is eat rabbits. And they just spend their day just walking around like copying what the people are doing above. So they're living these horrible lives. That's why their motivations are they want to kill the people because they want to take their place. They want to experience life on the good side, on the above ground, the surface level. The big twist of the story is Adeline, who's the main character, who's the mother, who we see the entire story through her perspective. When she was younger, she went down into this mirror maze and she found her doppelganger way back when in her childhood. And it turns out that the doppelganger and her actually switched. So that means that Red, who was the bad mother who was starting all of the murders and everything, was actually a real human being who had been like replaced by the copy, and they had switched places younger. So the mother who we've been focusing on the entire time is actually a tethered person. So this twist isn't Jordan Peele's way of saying, oh, she's a different person. Oh, she's not who she thought she was. The whole point of this twist is that us as the audience couldn't tell the difference between the two for the entire movie, which means that our society is so surface level, it's so just vapid and hollow that we only cared what we could see on the outside and we didn't even bother to think about what was on the inside. So Red, who was an actual human and was the only one who could speak, it was very clear that she was not like the other copies. But yet we didn't see that throughout the entire film until the end. And Adeline, who is actually a tethered, who has no soul as explained by the movie, she's just a shallow copy of the person, she could actually like talk, and she could show emotion, and she could actually be like a real human being. And so that shows that like us as America, like we keep people down in a sense, and like they had the opportunity, all of the tethered down there, to be like Adeline, to rise back up, to actually gain human qualities even though they didn't have a soul. And yet America chose to just keep them down, to keep them underprivileged. So through this twist, we see Jordan Peele's like call for an understanding of the nihilism in the American dream. It is only set up for a specific amount of people, and again, like everyone should have an equal opportunity, but they don't. There are more underprivileged people. There are people that don't have the same opportunities given to them in order to rise up, in order to succeed in what's called the dream. So these are all superficial labels that are created by society in order to push people to keep getting more and more stuff. So it's not this great dream. It's not this great thing of, oh, achieving success. It's more or less an arbitrary opinion that's generated by society. And so this is the nihilism that Jordan Peele tries to show. And as Christians, we can contrast this because we understand that material wealth is not all that we need, and we don't need to get our worth from the stuff that we have. We actually find that through God and through Jesus. And so those are the different themes within the film.